Good morning and welcome to the Chamber Business Report. I'm John Phillips, president of the Palm Coast Flagler Chamber of Commerce. I'm joined today by my co-host, Kelly Lombard. Good morning, Kelsie.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
And we are thrilled to have a special guest today from Bank of America. We would like to welcome Kelly Chapman to the program. Kelly, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, the Chamber Business Report is brought to you by great sponsors like Cline Construction, building the future of Flagler County for the past 30 years, by Smart Technologies. They make business simple. By Intracoastal Bank of Palm Coast, community banking the way it should be, member FDIC, and also by Katz and Green, Flagler County's personal injury attorneys since 1996. Again, our guest is Kelly Chapman with Bank of America. And Kelly, let's start off with the 30,000-foot view and just maybe tell us about your role at Bank of America and how long you've been with that organization, and then we'll get into some of the other nonprofits and great community things that you do and Bank of America does. But we'll start off with the big picture things.
Perfect. I appreciate it. And thank you again for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So my role at Bank of America, I have been with the company for 18 years. I am a Florida native. I've been back in Palm Coast for the past 4 years, which feels like it's gone by in just a blink of an eye, but at the same time, such a cool community and feel like so many partners that I have met in my time here, I've just known for forever. Yourself included. I really appreciate you. All the awesome work you guys are doing with the Chamber. It really is incredible. So within Bank of America, my role as Senior Vice President and Program Management Executive, I am tasked with the honor of supporting our nonprofit partnerships, very much focused on our affordable products. So I have the ability to work with our community builders, look for opportunities of how can we reinforce Bank of America's commitment to building successful communities through that economic empowerment. So we've got multiple priorities. They're all linked to the responsible growth strategy that we have. So when we think about delivering for our clients, our shareholders, our teammates, it's all centered on delivering the ability to improve financial lives. That's really ultimately what it all boils down to. So when we think about economic empowerment, that is, the basic needs of individuals. When someone is stable, you're able to then focus on mentoring programs, on skill building, in creating that economic empowerment through their job, maybe their business where they're employing others. How do we solve food insecurity? How do we deliver on affordable housing? That reinvestment into the neighborhood creates that solid bond where
That
those neighborhoods are then more
absolutely.
successful. Exactly. So there's better money habits, education, content. I'm a champion and a coach for that. There's a lot of different ways in which that responsible growth strategy is supported in the local community.
It's really interesting in the introduction there. We to get to know you and get to know Bank of America, we talked very little about finance and more about community impact because that's clearly what you're doing. But what drew you to the financial services industry and maybe to Bank of America specifically? Because this role that you're in today probably wasn't the initial role you started with Bank of America.
It wasn't, and it's been a really rewarding journey. In the very beginning, I started, grassroots level. It was in Jacksonville, Florida. I was finishing my college degree program and had the opportunity to join the organization in a time where they were going through multiple different legacy transitions. They had acquired Countrywide. There was a lot of change and a lot of development as they were really rebuilding and echoing and kind of bringing everyone into the family of what the priorities were. And homeownership was one of those that really stood out at that time. When you think about kind of the housing crisis and where we were at that time, there was a lot of change and a lot of economic growth at the same time. And in the different roles that I've had at the bank, I mentioned I kind of started at the grassroots level. So I was supporting our contact centers in our Jacksonville campus that were very large. That evolved to an operations management role and a promotion out to Texas. We loved our time out there. We were, I think it was maybe a little over 10 years that we were in the Plano, Texas market, and had various roles in operations management, operational leadership, and business support. And I got to understand how we can show up for our clients when you think about what sustainable and successful homeownership looks like. So it's not just, let's get you in a home today. It's how can we put you in a financial position where your life is actually improving, where you're going to be successful in this home. The last thing that you want to do is, be all excited to get your keys and then later on down the line have a significant issue where now your home is at risk and your financial life is not at all what you had originally envisioned. And those roles really brought me into kind of the mortgage side of the business, learning everything from the front end sales all the way through to the back end on servicing. And that was really rewarding. I really enjoyed that time. And then that eventually evolved into what other opportunities does Bank of America have where that sustainable promise of homeownership can be delivered. And that really has been, again, a rewarding experience, especially with the evolution of our responsible growth strategy and the affordable products the Bank of America offers, specifically the grant assistance program. And then the nonprofit partnerships that are centered on the affordable homeownership.
Yeah, and I want to unpack that one a little bit, maybe in the latter segment here, but just continue to talk about. So you said you're originally from Florida. You started with Bank of America in Jacksonville. Did you grow up in Jacksonville?
I actually grew up in Central Florida, in Altamont Springs. I was born in Winter Park and went to school in Altamont Springs, and so happy now to be in Palm Coast. My parents live here. My entire family is here. So yeah, we are longtime Floridians and moved to Jacksonville for college and then got started with the bank.
I think we talked about this at some point. High school in Lyman?
Yes, I was
Lyman,
a Greyhound.
Lyman Greyhounds?
Go Hounds. Go
All
Hounds,
right.
Yep.
Well, that's great. So obviously, start off in Central Florida, make it up to Jacksonville, then out to Texas for a bit, now back here to Palm Coast. So you're kind of in the middle of Central Florida to Jacksonville, in the middle of the region here. But ultimately, it's clear that your passion is about community support and helping folks. And really, most of it comes down to home ownership, which is there's a lot more to it, the food insecurity and other products. And we'll talk about that as well because Bank of America is such a wonderful community partner. But I think when you first got started, did you match up your personal kind of values with Bank of America's values? That's what I'm reading into it about your passion to give back. You're not just like, hey, I'm going to be a teller and here's your check back. You had a passion for community support, and Bank of America shares that same mission. And I think it was a good match. That's how I'm reading it, at least. I want to give you a chance to expand on that a little bit.
Very much so. From the very early days of my career and looking at what job opportunities were available and what did I want to do, I really sought out to find a company that I wanted to work for first, and then assumed and hoped, and thankfully they all did, that the positions would follow. And Bank of America's position in the community, I have been a lifetime client of Bank of America, as has my family. And to be able to see what they have done locally before ever working for them was something that really made an impact on me. And then as any job seeker would, right? You look into the company, you look into the values, you look into the mission. What are they about? What do they do? And their commitment has been unwavering in terms of the value that they put in showing up for their employees. When your employees are happy, your clients are happy. So they deliver for their employees, they deliver for shareholders, they deliver for clients, but they do it in the right way. There's a really underlying principle, and that's the responsible growth strategy. Everything ties back to how do you grow responsibly. It's not about the buy box and putting someone in the box and let's just get this done. Let's get you in this solution.
Yeah, because
what is the right thing.
If you get somebody into the wrong home that they really can't afford, They get upside down in it, and nobody wins. The homeowner, really loses, and ultimately, as whether you're the mortgage holder or you're involved in the financial aspects of it, the bank loses as well.
That's very true.
It's a lose-lose for everybody if you put your customer into the wrong product, essentially. And I don't mean literally a product, but into a product that they can't afford.
Or just educating them on the grants that are available that they don't know that this is the biggest purchase that they're about to make, and being able to utilize the grants and the funding that are available to be able to get into that dream home, I think is so important. And you wear that. You can tell me the top 5 grants that are running right now on the top of your head and the passion that you have to be able to bring that forward into your clients is amazing. And just what you do in the community as well.
That means so much to me. Thank you for that.
No
I
problem,
really
Kelly.
appreciate it. I do feel very passionate about it because the word is out and we just need to help amplify it so that everyone knows and has access to it. There's the SHIP grant that we have talked about for first-time home buyers in the state of Florida. There is Bank of America's down payment assistance and first-time home buyer grant. There is a lot of opportunity with nonprofits. Here locally, one of our nonprofit partners came to Jacksonville. As a matter of fact, I'm hoping, and it sounds like they're going to return, fingers crossed, for Flagler or Volusia County. I would love it to be in Flagler. But this nonprofit is called Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, better known as NACA or NACA.com. And they had a huge workshop out in Jacksonville at Edward Waters University. And their program, they've been partners with Bank of America for 30 years. And they have a special credit access program where for a home buyer, it is no down payment, no closing costs. There's a below market guaranteed rate. It's not based on a FICO score. So the financing is very much non-traditional. It's character based and very predicated on home buyer education. They really dig in and do a ton of counseling to ensure that not only is the home affordable on that day, but long term, they're going to be successful and sustainable in that home. So tremendous benefits within that program. So that's really exciting.
Let's unpack that just a little bit, just to make sure, because that's something that the average person is probably not aware of.
Exactly.
Unless they come in and speak to someone at Bank of America and get educated. So NACA.com can
Yes.
get more information.
Absolutely.
Or they can reach out to Bank of America to get connected. But I think the internet, especially while we're in this medium on the radio and through podcasting, NACA.com, and get more information about that, because that's a game changer. Oftentimes it's the ability to get into that home is what's holding you back, whether it's the down payment or the credit history or both, as the case may be.
Or even the mortgage insurance. I mean, when you add mortgage
when you add
insurance and
PMI,
property taxes and all of that onto it, and with that program, that's another benefit. There's no mortgage insurance either.
And sustainability, to be able to get into that home, afford it then, but be able long-term to be able to afford it as well. And being in, get the education and
because sometimes you can't break that cycle. You know, you end up in a rental because that's all you can afford, and you're actually paying more for rent than you would be paying for a mortgage because you can't get over that initial hump. And programs like this, not that this is the only one, but this is a wonderful program through NACA, and again, NACA.com, NACA.com, can get you over that hump towards the ultimate goal of home ownership and you know, being in the proper home at the proper price to be affordable long term for you and your family. It's ultimately that's the ultimate goal, right?
That's what it's all about. And those that are invested in their home as opposed to renting really have a vested interest in their community.
Yeah.
So it makes communities stronger, healthier, more successful economically when you're creating sustainable home ownership.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about home ownership and programs for individuals. There are also wonderful programs that Bank of America does for nonprofit organizations and for small businesses. I really do want to emphasize on the nonprofits, and we're going to talk about that in our second segment when we come back after this short timeout, because there are some wonderful programs, and I know you've alluded to a couple of them already, and we're going to talk more about some of them and some of the wonderful benefits that we have. A lot of folks in the chamber that run nonprofit organizations, and those organizations can benefit from some of the information that Kelly Chapman is going to share in our next segment. So we're going to take a short time out, and we'll be right back here on the Chamber Business Report. Good morning. Welcome back to the Chamber Business Report. I'm John Phillips, president of the Palm Coast Flagler Chamber of Commerce, and our guest today is Kelly Chapman. She is with Bank of America here locally in Flagler County, and we are learning more about some of the wonderful programs that Bank of America does to help individuals in our first segment. But in this second segment, really want to focus on the nonprofit space and some of the community support that Bank of America does, and also even some of the small business loans and things as well, because we do have a ton of small businesses here in Flagler County. But we're going to start off with our focus on nonprofits and community give back. Kelly, you shared some great stats with me. The first one, $317,000. Number one was donated by Bank of America employees. And then it's like BOGO, double it up. Bank of America matches it dollar for dollar. That 317,
They
is
do.
that just here in Flagler County?
That is just local.
Just local.
That is just local. So when you think about East Coast Florida and the markets that are comprised there, it is Flagler County, it is Volusia County, and it is Brevard County. So all of the Bank of America employees in those areas donated to nonprofits, and Bank of America matches the employee donations.
Dollar for dollar. It's a wonderful, sometimes they say, put your money where your mouth is, right? Bank of America says, we're great community supporters. And they just put their money right behind that with, again, $317,000. And they give you all wonderful opportunities to take paid time off to give back and do community service to the tune of 31,000 community service hours that your employees have given.
It's so proud to be in a company where those opportunities are given and that the employees are invested in taking advantage of them. Absolutely. So to have a nonprofit that you personally support and give back to, for me, there are several here in Flagler County. And it is such a pleasure to be able to have that time dedicated to go out and give back and pour into those organizations that are doing such great work.
And the nice thing is they Bank of America offers their employees the opportunity to choose what's most important to them. It might be the United Way. That is one of the organizations that you all support. It could be it could be the Cancer Society. It could be Vincent's Clubhouse. It could be
Habitat for Humanity.
There's so
Junior
many
Achievement.
Junior Achievement. They support their employees who support the other organizations. Essentially, they don't say, "Hey, go support this group," because we're behind them. They say, "Go support anyone, and we're with you. We'll go hand in hand with you and give you time to go and do that, to give back in our community and ultimately make this place a better place for us all to live, work, and play."
Yep.
And Bank of America stands behind it. So
Community and passion driven, I think. And I think when
Very
when
much
you
so.
drive with your passion, it gives so much more in the end because you're passionate about it and you're giving back to the community.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
You mentioned some of the core missions that Bank of America supports. I know affordable housing is one. We've talked about that a little bit. Food insecurity is another one. Are there other specific things that aren't tied to an organization necessarily, but to causes that Bank of America is passionate about?
Absolutely. And economic empowerment really is the one that underscores all of them. So how do we create those economic opportunities? And when you think about our entrepreneurs, anyone that wants to start a business, anyone that wants to build a professional skill, have access to financial education, Bank of America offers a lot of support in those spaces. Better Money Habits is a really great example of that. We partnered with the Khan Academy, and you can work with Bank of America, a champion, someone that is a Better Money Habits coach, to deliver that content. It ranges everything from beginning personal finances all the way through how to develop and sustain your small business or your nonprofit. So there's a lot of skill building and resources available through that. And that creates the economic empowerment where when someone has a company and they're employing people, you think about your local community and all the great small businesses that we have, they have that economic mobility to create that empowerment for additional people in the community and build their skills. So that really kind of ties it all together when you think about the food insecurity, the affordable housing. When you have those basic needs settled, someone is stable and successful in terms of basic needs, then you can focus on the skill building. Then you can focus on the additional economic empowerment.
Yeah, a couple weeks back, I was fortunate enough to get a tour of Flagler Cares, and both Carrie Baird and Cheryl Tristan were talking about some of the educational things that they do. And really, the core starts with financial literacy, which is what you're talking about, economic empowerment. It's another word for similar subject. If you can get your finances in order and build a budget and become more empowered, it allows you to do all those other things. And not that it automatically takes away the food insecurity or your ability to affordable housing, but it's the first step that helps you get to those goals. And it's one of the foundations of building a successful future. Starts with financial literacy, and you all stand behind it. Yeah. We would be remiss if we didn't spend some time talking about the ways nonprofits can get support, whether that's through grants or zero interest loans or things to help them financially. You have used the term CDFI, Community Development Financial Institutions. And I want to give you a chance to talk about that and some of the partnerships and ways that our nonprofits, because we have a lot here in Flagler County, can get assistance and work with Bank of America to help support their own mission, which ultimately supports our community?
Absolutely. And I appreciate the question. It's probably the top question that I get asked in the community. And if you go to about.bankofamerica.com and then look for resources, you'll find a wealth of information. So again, about.bankofamerica.com and then go to resources. And there you will find our community grants. So our Neighborhood Builders program is phenomenal. It is a grant program that affords that economic opportunity for nonprofits that are looking to do exactly that. What aligns with responsible growth? What aligns with economic empowerment? And that program is really phenomenal. There's also sponsorship opportunities. It'll give details of the employee giving that we touched on. And you can find access to our CDFI resource library. And there it will list all CDFIs, again, Community Development Financial Institution. And those are partners with Bank of America, in addition to all the CDFIs that exist. So our library has all of them. And you can find a CDFI that aligns to your mission. So if there is someone that really shares that affinity, that if you are passionate about food insecurity, if you're passionate about affordable homeownership, if you're passionate about, developing a business, whatever that looks like, chances are there is someone who shares that same passion. And with that type of economic opportunity, it is much different from a typical small business loan in that they are often either unrestricted grants or general grant opportunities. They may be in the form of a loan, potentially a 0% loan. There's a lot of economic opportunity within the CDFI space, and would really encourage everyone to go out on the internet, learn about CDFIs, go to about.bankofamerica.com and find those resources, because it really does create that opportunity for someone that's looking for that non-traditional capital. A lot of small business owners initially think that they've got to take that personal financial risk, charge up the credit card and, buy the office equipment and do all the things that you need to do as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, the startup expenses are what gets in the way oftentimes.
It very much so, yeah. And that risk doesn't need to be completely, burdened in a traditional way. There are, a lot of non-traditional financial capital opportunities.
I don't want to put you on the spot, and maybe we can't talk about some of them, but is there a personal success story through the CDFI that maybe you want to give a shout out to for somebody, whether it's here locally or somewhere else that's just really like you fly the flag and go, this was a great program for me to be part of?
There are so many.
Can I have you tell a story that you told me that I thought was amazing about your parents?
Oh,
can we tell that story?
We sure can.
Okay.
We sure can. So my mom and dad, I am so blessed to have two of the most amazing, amazing parents, and they have been so supportive throughout my life. I have a brother who now lives in Edgewater, so it's so cool to have the family all here together. During COVID, we were remote, as many of us were, if not all of us, apart from non-essential rather. That during that time, I had the ability to spend some more time with them, and that was awesome. But it also put into focus that they were really ready to start the next chapter. That burden of, the big house and the pool and hurricanes and fences and roofs and AC and heating. And I mean, the list goes on, right? When you're a homeowner, all of those different things that you have to worry about. So I thought, guys, let's just do it. What's holding you back? Let's just do it. Let's put a solution together where, where would you want to be? What would you want to do? And I think the dream was always to be, out here on the coast and to have the whole family together. And the interesting thing for me at the time was that I had the opportunity through their eyes to really explore and understand what those programs looked like. So when you think about our senior community, folks that are on Social Security, it's very different. You have low and moderate income communities where you wouldn't think, oh, let me just walk into a bank. Let me just go in and take out a $500,000 loan or whatever it is. They don't envision that being possible when they're in those types of situations. And the NACA program was very new to me at the time and didn't know a lot about it, heard about all the phenomenal benefits and thought, like many people do when you see something that affords that much economic opportunity and potential and benefits. Like, is this even real?
Too good to be true.
Exactly, right? Like, is it a scam?
Yeah.
I mean, is this even real? And I had the opportunity to really personally discover it firsthand with them going through the process to see that it is in fact real. And what did that look like? It looked like going to a home buyer workshop and providing some documents, going to a financial counseling. They're the largest HUD counseling agency in the country, NACA.
NACA.
It's incredible. So going through that intake process, the counseling process, understanding what that looked like to build the application and have all of that work. And had it not been for that, the affordability factor would have been night and day. It's just amazing how that could come together and so quickly. That was the other thing. If you put in the time, people always ask, like, what's the catch? The catch is you just put in that time. You put in the time to gain all of the education, to put in the work in terms of the documentation, the time with the counselor, reviewing what a prescribed action plan looks like for qualification, and doing those non-traditional steps. It really afforded such tremendous opportunity. And every day, I'll give my dad a shout out. I love getting the texts every night. He'll take a picture of the most gorgeous sunset in Palm Coast right along the canal. And I just look forward to seeing those every night. It just makes my heart smile to see them so happy and successful here.
It's wonderful that you got to experience it firsthand. It's not just a product you sell. Because it's really not a Bank of America product at all.
No,
but
it's
but
not.
It's not something you advocate for, but I don't do it. You lived it firsthand and through your family. So if you are in the home ownership market, NACA.com, NACA.com. There's great resources there. If you are a nonprofit looking for financial assistance, you can go to about.bankofamerica.com. Bankofamerica.com, and then look for resources. Those are two great ways for nonprofits or for home ownership. And there's many, many more. So you'd have to find Kelly Chapman and just ask her about more of those things. But those are two of the great resources. Kelly, really appreciate your time today. It was wonderful to learn more about you and about Bank of America and all the wonderful things they do to help support our community. So thank you for being part of the Chamber Business
Kelly.
Report.
I appreciate it. Thank you both very much.
That'll wrap up our show for today. It is a wonderful Saturday here in Flagler County and Palm Coast. Enjoy the rest of it. Thanks for being with us today on the Chamber Business Report.
Happy Saturday.